So when I made that video that went a little viral about the girl who's sitting in her car crying about being a single mother and there not being a village, right? A young black lady stitched my video and was basically saying, well, what did you sacrifice? If you're not a, what are you, she's saying she sacrificed. And I didn't respond because okay. But women need to learn how to make smart, intentional sacrifices, not sacrifices after the fact. After you've already done the dumb thing and you taking on the responsibility of your choice, that's a stupid sacrifice. That's not a smart sacrifice, right? That's not a sacrifice a powerful woman would make. You make sacrifices before the fact, right? So to answer her question, I like intercourse just like the next person, but I deny myself pleasures because it's the smart thing to do. It's the thing to do that's intentional, that will eliminate certain problems. Intercourse with men is a risk. Intercourse with anyone is a risk, but particularly intercourse with men is a risk. And it's a risk that I'm not willing to take in this climate. That is a smart, intentional sacrifice. See, women want to be able to do whatever they want to do, and then they want to be pat on the back for taking care of their responsibilities. And in that video, I said that, women like me who make sacrifices and who do hard things and make hard decisions before something happens, we won't be picking up the slack for women who just bop around life and do whatever they want to do. And then we have to use our extra reserves to help pick up the slack for you. No, we will not be doing that. Another way you make sacrifices not being a mom, is denying yourself the ability to feel the feelings of love. Right? Stop making decisions based off your emotions. I don't care how much I like anyone. I don't care how much I like a person. If it's not smart for me to be with that person, I'm not going to be that. So I deny my human feelings and make a more intelligent choice. Sometimes it hurts. And I've been doing this since I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I was really somewhere in the vicinity of love. At this age, I realized it really wasn't love. It was just infatuation. But those feelings were real. But I looked at my life at 18, 19 years old, and I knew the trajectory. I knew the goals that I had. I knew I always wanted to get my degree. So I looked at this guy, I looked at the choices that I was making, and I sat and thought about it. And I denied myself being in a relationship. This dude broke up with his girlfriend for me. And I did not get in a relationship. Somebody else would have been like, oh, he broke up with his girlfriend. That means he loves me. I didn't give a fuck about that at 18 or 19, and I don't give a fuck about it now. Because if it's not smart, and if I sat and picture what my life would be like if I would get in a relationship with him, I would end up having intercourse. And we know how that ends up, right? At that time, at 18, 19, I didn't know that men would intentionally get you pregnant. I didn't know that they would see a young, pretty girl and try to set her up. But I didn't need to know. Why? Because I made self-sacrificing choices ahead of time. I chose myself. I chose the life that I've always wanted. I didn't choose a dude. That was self-sacrificing. And I cried many a times. I broke my own heart that day. The day I decided not to be with him, and I decided that I was going to choose myself and choose the goals that I had over the feelings I had with a dude, I broke my heart, and I was not the same person since. And it made it so much easier for the rest of my life to make hard choices, to not make choices with my feelings, to deny myself what I thought I saw other girls having. Because what it looked like to me on the outside was these girls have boyfriends and they're in love and they get to kiss and they get to do all of these things, and I don't get that. But it paid off. And it unlocked something in me as a teenage girl. It unlocked a level of sovereignty, a level of power when I chose myself as a teenager. And I cried for a long time. I took my black ass to college and I cried in college. I didn't cry because I got pregnant and had a baby and got stuck in bumblefuck North Carolina. I cried while making the hard choices. I cried and I kept moving. I even called him when I was in college and he was like, well, just come back home. I would call his voicemail just to listen to his voice. And I still did the hard thing. That is a sacrifice. Learn how to make smart sacrifices where you don't have to learn the hard way. And even more, your children's lives are not at stake. But women want to be able to do whatever they want to do. Women want to be, you want to call women bitter and call women haters, because most women, when you tell them something, when they in the thick of love and they in the thick of these relationships, they think you're jealous. You want to know real jealousy? Real jealousy is watching my best friend of 20 years barely can stand the sight of me because of how differently our lives are, because of the different choices that we made. And it took me up until last year to admit to myself that that's what it was, because I didn't want it to be, because we're complicated. My best friend, I do believe, absolutely loved me. But because of our different lives, she probably can barely stand. Even now, me saying probably, it's still hard. And I ain't talked to this girl in over a year. It's still hard for me to admit that it's something about me that I didn't like, that she didn't like. And it's something about me that bothered her so much that she was willing to give up 20 years of friendship. And I'm talking about this now because the type of person I am, I'm a loyal person. It takes me a long time to get over somebody. But when I'm over it, when I finally see clearly and I'm over it, believe me, I'm done. And even then, I may not have had trouble with making hard decisions with boys, but I always had trouble with making hard decisions with my friends. And I remember my mom kind of tried to tell me long time ago in my early 20s, but she let it play out. And over time, my mom sometimes would ask me, how our friendship was going. And I kind of knew, right? And this is why I know young women aren't stupid, because I knew even at that time what my mother was saying, because I listened to my parents' conversation. I knew what my mother was saying. I knew why my mother was asking me for updates, right? But I didn't care, right? At the end of the day, but I'm always watching. But I wanted it to play out because I didn't want to give up my friends. My mom didn't want my friendship to end anyway. She just knew, because she was older and because she had seen it before. So listen, make sacrifices that make your life easier. Don't make sacrifices after you do something stupid. And forget the idea of closure, but that'll be a whole separate video.